Please note these are a form of social commentary and not in any way meant to put down the ideas and ideals of any political or gender identity. You are all fair game in the eyes of the wicked, and we see you.
I've done what felt right. It just feels like
the world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at, see that chap over there? He'll take your hand off my penis.
The Deputy Secretary, the Deputy Secretary, Deputy Secretary.
This guy is fucking stupid.
stay cheesy. All right. How's it going, my beautiful starflies, my wonderful chickadees, and my rays of sunshine? It's so polite, right? Every time I take a drink. Well, welcome to another episode of Useless Agent. This is your safe space from the MAGA morons and the beautiful side of the social justice warriors. Yeah. It's another goddamn day. All right. I want to start off by I love to recap where we are right now. And I left out a little bit of info from yesterday's episode. Now, yesterday we were talking about the Israeli politics, and we were talking about the USS Liberty, and we also were talking about the Schofield Bible. And that's kind of where I left out a couple things. So I put it in the comment, but let me just go ahead and fix this for myself, I guess. Basically, the Schofield Bible was written by one guy in 1909 and died in like 47. By 52, it ends up in all the books. Now, what I meant was by this little footnote he was writing. These little footnotes were basically just additions to the Bible that he wanted. So that way it would really point out that God gave the land itself of, Israel to the Jew. And that doesn't make sense. Now, the reason why it doesn't make sense is because Jew was a word in 1909, but it was not a word back in the Jesus days. And this is how biblical scholars, people that are actually, in the education of the Bible, people that study it, 9 times out of 10, I think it's 10 out of 10, when they go into researching the Bible scholars tend to come out atheist. And this is a fact. I mean, a lot of people that get into deep religious studies end up being told, now you can hear this from a lot of different people. Check out like Holy Kool-Aid or the I forgot the word, the genetically modified atheist, I think, is another one. And of course, there's other good ones like Telltale and stuff like that. So there are a lot of really good biblical references on YouTube. So if you want to reference the Bible, you really want to understand it, you don't really want to read it, Holy Kool-Aid and similar ones These guys are Bible scholars, okay? This is not just some dude making shit up. These guys have actual degrees. Oh, you know what? I think it's genetically modified skeptic. I think that's his name. Now, these two guys are probably my favorite. I'm, of course, leaving out a couple. I think Dark Matter is also one of my favorite ones. They do a great job of having a guy named Jeffrey, who's an angel to God, and God is basically just an egotistical asshole. So it's a great show if you're an atheist or agnostic, or if you simply have a sense of humor and you can push your stupid, personal feelings aside, which is what humor is really all about, is pushing that shit to the side and being able to laugh at it, because, what else can you do? So getting back to that, when he added these footnotes and then it became a part of the scripture itself, Bible scholars can easily debunk this. And what Bible scholars do is they make sure that the dates and timelines make sense by language. This is by doing it in ways of using language. Language is always constantly evolving. So, for instance, 20 years ago, you could tell me that I was a cuck and I would have no fucking clue what you were saying, and I'd probably give you a thumbs up and go, yeah, sure, whatever. Or you can call me an incel, and I was a very promiscuous kid at that time, so there's no fucking way I was a virgin, but you could have called me an incel, and I would have been like, yeah, sure, whatever, man. So it just shows you that with time comes different language. So that's how they could tell this dude's making this shit up. There was no word Jew. There was Judah and Judea, but there were no words like Jew. So, I left all that out, but it is important because of that change. It literally gave, a fake, it's like giving a fake real estate license to somebody. Hey, this is your house now, fuck it. The big guy said so. And so that is what causes the problems in Israel, the problems with Israel and Palestine, and the fact that they can't get along for shit because, how can you get along with a bunch of medieval psychopaths? I mean, there's blame on both sides as is anything, but I mean, you guys are stuck in those goddamn dark ages. You don't need our money. That's a fact. Israel does not need our money, okay? And that's what we're trying to offer. This is a matter of Gaza, okay? Gaza, you don't need a fucking navy. You don't need a fucking, you just need some airplanes and some fucking bullets, bro. Now, this had happened before, and what's funny is that I even mentioned it on the show that last time, that in '67 when they went off and murdered us, that same year they had done that to Gaza, to Egypt, to Jordan, I think Syria. And so what that does is it changes so much shit that you don't even realize how much change it's actually made. So when you change the Bible itself, now you change, the whole purpose of the Bible, changing the attitude of the reader. And so the readers tend to go along with the, this bullshit narrative. And what that causes is people like the KKK. Now, in 1925, the KKK rallies were held in D.C. There were actually big, large fucking ones. The largest one was in 25. Woodrow Wilson actually approved of Birth of a Nation, actually found it to be a great movie. This is the fucking country we live in, dude. And so I can go on and on about the KKK. I have enough fucking info on KKK. Again, the whole point of research is to look through shit that you don't want to see. Now, there are cases where people are, now I'm going to segue over. There are cases where people have a decent message and don't know how to say it. And 9 times out of 10, it's these fucking podcast politicians. But it's also posers that are trying to do a good thing, but they just don't have an artistic fucking cell in their brain. So we're going to watch a video right now of a guy that tried to do a video. I guess it was well hearted. I guess he was well intended. I mean, it had decent intentions, but again, conveyance and not just conveyance, but context. Context is key. Context is everything. When you are doing a show or a video or a podcast or a live stream, you have to make sure your words are detailed. You have to make sure that you are concise. I watch a lot of other YouTubers, and honestly, I don't know what you guys like out of it, because the person either doesn't make any sense or they just don't have a fact to save their lives and they make shit up. So if I don't have the facts for you, I will wait and move that aside until I have those facts, because I do not want to be debunked. I love learning, but the last thing I want to be is corrected, because if I put it out on here to you guys, it should already be fact. It should already be done. So if I ever do something that's out of my range, I will be the first one to check myself. All right, so let's check out this video.
Maybe I don't understand this. You're changing, I can't stand this. My heart can't take this damage, and the way I feel can't stand it. Maybe I don't understand
I
it.
got a promise I made that Daddy would always be there. But Daddy been running the streets. I want you to know that I care. But Daddy been running in beef. You know that your father is fair. But Daddy gonna tell you the truth, so his daughter would never be scared. Don't go looking for no one like me. A good man go to school and he work. Don't be looking for thugs that's up in the club selling drugs and be popping the first. Represent me right. You and your sisters is tight. If one of y'all get in some trouble, remember y'all all gotta fight. I'm proud of you. Young woman I never had met. You was only 4 years old when I died and got shot and was stuck on the steps.
Okay, all right. So that was the video. Okay, now this is a video that obviously very well intended. The guy had obviously not meant to say anything negative. It was one of the type of sins of the father kind of videos and all that fun stuff. But hang on. My problem with it is obviously in its conveyance, it doesn't properly. Basically, what you have here is a guy that's doing I'm guessing a music video, but as he is doing this, let's remember there's a child in this video, and that gun there is no fucking toy. The very last thing a child should have to be put into is a situation like this. And again, I see what you're trying to do, and the words are powerful. They're very meaningful, and they're very good, actually. I actually kind of like the song. But that video is cringe as fuck. And why is it so fucking cringe? Because you're trying so hard to be deep that it just comes off as just dark, because you can't help but feel empathy for the child. And when you're watching something like this, it's a lot better to do it with cartoons or any other form of imagery, because the last thing you want is people to miss the message and get stuck in the reality of it. Now, when you're using real people and you're doing a real video, now the audience is going to be in that video. You know, you've already pulled us in when we clicked it. So we can see the reality in it. And it takes us out of the message and into the reality where we say, wait a minute, why is this guy putting this little girl through this damn video to get a few hundred likes that's probably going to fuck her up in the head because she can't forget this weird memory that she's pretty sure she's remembering it right. And if her memory serves her right, it's her dad was, you know, my dad was holding my hands, but there was a gun like against his head. Was he gonna die that day? Like literally, that fucks a kid up. If you had done this the right way, first off, you didn't need to use a real gun. You could have used any form of imagery to show that the sins of the father kind of thing. You did not need to do it this way with a straight up, you know, straight up thug holding a gun. He's even got no shirt on, and it's too realistic. Now, when you do something too realistic, you're gonna need multiple camera angles so that way you get the feeling of it. And camera angles change everything, and context changes everything. So this is a perfect example, and I commented on this video. It's a perfect example of a great message, but the worst possible way to convey it. So yeah, kudos for trying, and I really like the lyrics, but again, use a cartoon next time. It keeps people out of the reality and into the message itself. They won't be thinking about, man, you fucking this poor little girl up. That's the problem. And so when I do music videos that are really dark, if anybody ever watches the video for Mother's Only Son, please tell me you understood the video, because the way that I angle it and the way that I process or put the pictures in process, they're in a specific order for a reason, and you're supposed to be paying attention. It's funny because I hadn't seen the video in like a year, and it popped up on my own feed. I ended up watching it, and I didn't remember making it because I'm stoned half the time. So, as I watched it, I figured it out, and I couldn't believe that this was never, you know, something I really promoted. So between that song or Zombieland, those are two songs that music videos that actually have a story. And if you guys can comment down there what the story is or what you got out of that story, I would love to fucking hear it, because I always want to see what people get out of my art, because there's a specific story being told through the song and through the video. And so again, context is always key. Now, let's get back into the political realm, unfortunately. I love talking music and shit, but all right. So, as I talk about the Israeli problem, I talk about the Schofield Bible, I talk about, you know, more people have died in the name of God than anything else. So, you know, to me, religion is poison. And I really just wish we could just love each other without a book. You know, you don't need that book to tell you anything. It doesn't take a God to create a good person. It simply takes that person, you know, and it does take a village. But, you know, we're at a point now where things are getting very desperate for the left. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, we are winning a lot. And I know it sounds like Trump because I don't have the actual numbers. But The actual number when it comes down to these motherfuckers with the podcasts is 79. We have 79 congressional figures, members of government with podcasts. So do you guys literally take a break to sell boner pills and all that shit and some fucking powder to put in your water or some dumb shit like that? That's so pathetic because we constantly talk about people over politics. We always talk about money and, people over money, policy over payment, all that bullshit. Meanwhile, you got fucking, Robert Kennedy hanging out with, Theon Von Erich. Yeah, by the way, Von Erich, people don't like you. I don't care. I think your family is awesome, and you guys are, you guys are fucking the meaning of wrestling. And I think it's cool that you didn't get into wrestling because obviously it's benefited him because he's managed to live a lot longer than his family members, and I mean that in the most honest way possible. I don't mean to make fun of the guy. It's a tragedy. The Von Erich family is one of the most cursed wrestling families in the world, where every brother died. It's very similar to the Hart Foundation, where you had Owen Hart die, Neidhart die, Chris Benoit. Now, I don't care what you think about the guy, how he killed, how he ended his life. That has nothing to do with his actual career. And also the guy was mentally disabled. So I do cut him some slack because there should have been some medical help there. The guy had a fucking brain of a 98-year-old dementia patient. So the guy had taken way too many concussions, and it's just a sign of it. Speaking of people that take way too many goddamn concussions, it seems, let's go back to that Robert Kennedy shit. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of context for you guys. So let me go ahead and put this into context. Let's remember the guy that is interviewing Robert Kennedy over here is Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity is a well-known and documented BFF of Donald Trump. Robert Kennedy is now going to be an independent. He's not going to run as a Democrat, even though he basically follows a lot of Democrat policy. I do not compare him to his father because you are nothing like your father. I don't compare you to your uncle because you are not your uncle. And nobody is meant to live up to who they're supposed to be. So shut the fuck up about that. However, this guy kind of just 180'd everything that, some of the shit he says, I'm like, your father would bitch slap you for saying this shit. The Kennedys were always fans of social systems and helping out basically the middle class and the average American. He didn't give a shit about the rich, and he didn't give a shit about the power. He wanted CIA disbanded because he knew he couldn't trust them since they were not loyal to him. They were loyal to whatever the personal interests were at that time for whatever individual was in charge. So let's go ahead and then watch this. It is very hard to listen to the guy, and I understand that completely. So if you're having trouble understanding him, hopefully, I think there's some subtitles.
For curbing, logging, oil drilling, fracking. You wanted to eliminate it. You called it a victory for democracy. You want to curb U.S. fossil fuel extraction. Keep it in the ground, you once tweeted. You want to ban on fossil fuel extraction, a ban on fracking. You called the NRA once a terror group. You've supported over the years Democrats, Gore, Kerry, Obama, Hillary.
I'm sorry, so far nothing sounds bad. I mean, literally, you want to put an end to fossil fuels. That should be our goal as a fucking as a fucking species. And it's just like you're naming all the great things that he once stood for, and these are the things that his father would have stood for. But let's try to also remember, this man right here, Robert Kennedy Jr. Let's try to keep in mind here, if John F. Kennedy was never killed, we would have had 20 fucking years of Kennedy presidencies. Well, not 20, but about 16 years of Kennedy presidencies. That would have put our country in such a better place that they knew they had to kill these guys because they had too much love.
Praised Bernie Sanders multiple times. You support affirmative action. So why is this party of yours, why didn't they even want to allow you to compete? Because that's as pretty liberal of a record as anybody I know.
Now, you see how he's trying to frame the actual problem as if he's trying to frame Robert F. Kennedy as some sort of liberal, and he's really not, but he does have some values. Now, again, remember, Sean Hannity is BFF. Like, literally, they text each other like little girls all the time. I don't text my best friends unless something important happens or something funny happens. But they apparently chat for hours on end. So, yeah, the giggly little schoolgirl's having fun talking shit to Robert Kennedy because he fears that Kennedy is going to siphon votes from his BFF Trump, which is why he's treating Kennedy the way he's treating him.
You have a litany of talking points from statements I've made over 40 years. Some of them are stale. Some of them I never said. But, what is your question? Why the Democratic Party? Why I'm not running in the Democratic Party?
Why did they kick you out?
I feel like...
I mean, by the way, I'm giving you comments that you made.
You see how they're just going to keep interrupting. Now, some reason, this is how the right really thinks that they win arguments. And again, it's always just projection, denial, projection. And it's fucking transparent.
In 2016, 17, 19, endorsements, we know the years Gore, Kerry, Obama, Hillary, Bernie Sanders, they're all recent quotes. The NRA quote you made about calling them a terror group was 2018. So these are recent positions you've had. That I'm not sure why the Democratic Party wouldn't allow you to compete.
Do you want to talk about my position, Sean?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to read talking points from the Trump campaign?
Well, excuse me. These are not.
Oh, no, that was beautiful. That was beautiful because that's exactly what I was just saying. That's all he's doing is he's going to read, and we know this, like I said, that they're best friends. So Trump is probably giving him a few questions that he wants to hear himself. And honestly, this place couldn't, the right couldn't be any sadder, and worst of all, Fox News couldn't get any goddamn sadder. We're gonna come back to that video real quick, but you know what? Fuck the 30-minute limit. I'm done with that shit. So let me just show you real quick. This is how Fox News is today. That they're so good. There is one particular person that is on the 5, which I hate Fox News, but they are hysterical at being wrong. So the one woman that makes sense on that show, the woman with the glasses, that I can never remember her fucking name. And so today, because I wanted to talk about her, do you guys notice anything weird here. The fact that there's only 4 names listed on the 5. So it says the 5. Dana Perino. I think that's the drunken wino former judge turned box of wine. Greg Gutless, Jesse Douchebag Waters. Oh no, Janine Pirro. That's her. She's the dumbass. So maybe it's Dana Perino, but I have a feeling that's not right either. So again, that's only 4 names. The show's called The 5. All right. This is hilarious. This is exactly like Pete Holmes pretending to be Batman, and he literally fires Aquaman from the fucking Justice League. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but he pulls out his trident, and there's 5 prongs, and he goes, "That's your trident? Trident? Try meaning 3? How many pokies do you see?" So yeah, there's a show called The 5, and they named 4 people. And the one person that I was looking for, I don't think they named her. Because I want to say it's something with a T. I want to say it's I want to say her last name starts with a T. And she's the only one that ever makes any goddamn sense on that show. And she constantly shuts them down. And I think we're actually going to see her in just a moment. But I can never get her goddamn name. And so when I looked for it, it was fucking hysterical that I couldn't find it. So one more thing before we get to the last video, I want to show you context done right and emotion done right. This is Cenk Uygur.
Your demented, homophobic, and transphobic rhetoric.
Democrats, wake up! Wake up! This guy's talking about executing people. And you're like, well, we wouldn't want to offend Joe Biden. He's definitely going to lose to him. But hey, we bow down to authority. Joe Biden's ego demands a second term. Screw Joe Biden's ego. We're going to lose the goddamn country to a tyrant and a dictator who's telling you ahead of time that he's going to murder people. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Democrats, stop being such losers and pick someone who can beat the tyrant.
That, to me, is beautiful. Is Cenk Uygur right about what he's talking about? Of course! He's literally playing the Hitlerian fucking playbook. And when you're gonna be fucking the next Hitler, there's always gonna be another fucking Himmler and fucking Goebbels and all that shit. We're stuck with this shit, man, if we don't do something and find somebody. Because I don't know if Joe's going to win this. I really don't, and I'm scared about it. Because I can't live another 4 years under that guy, and you know what he's going to do to us. I wish I hadn't cut him off, because he also continues by saying he's already admitted that he's going to do this to people, and not only to them, but he's going to arrest the very people trying to stand up to them. And he's absolutely right. So let me see if I can get that back. I just want to finish it because, again, he's 1,000% right. And fucking, this is one of the few times that I can show something on TYT that is on the anchor side, but it is very important because normally I just cover what they cover. I do not go into watching another person do their job because that's not my job. So let's hear this one more time.
That time I made Brock Lesnar.
Democrats, wake up! Wake up! This guy's talking about executing people. And you're like, well, we wouldn't want to offend Joe Biden. He's definitely going to lose to him. But hey, we bow down to authority. Joe Biden's ego demands a second term. Screw Joe Biden's ego. We're going to lose the goddamn country to a tyrant and a dictator who's telling you ahead of time that he's gonna murder people. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Democrats, stop being such losers and pick someone who can beat the tyrant. Otherwise, we're gonna lose the country. And they're gonna put you in jail, you dumbasses. Wake up!
That's what I was talking about. Chank, calm down. All right, so that is the message done and conveyed right, written right and conveyed right. So let's go on and finish this interview because I do think we're gonna reach the point where we actually do talk to her. So hang on.
Called Hannity points. I do my own research.
No, but I saw that same list published this morning by the Trump campaign. It's the exact same list.
Will ever be accepted by Democrats because of the vax position, because of, I mean,
Here we
Kennedy
go.
is his last name, but he doesn't line up with Kennedy's on anything.
No. And they're Caroline Kennedy and her son.
they're all
doing an interview about
That's
it.
the girl.
We're asked by Savannah Guthrie, do you stand by? Because Jack Schlossberg, her son, posted a video, and they said, yeah, absolutely. This is not a Democrat. And they didn't go so far to say we're Biden Democrats because they're Kennedys, but they are. So the person who knows best of all who he's going to pull votes from is RFK Jr. himself, and he admitted it. So he was on a podcast, because that's where he hangs out, with a comedian named Theo Vaughn, and he said, yeah, he's sitting back, he's in like a tight gray t-shirt, like looking good, and he's like, yeah, I pull from Trump. And you know why? His approval rating with Democrats is -31 in the New York Times Siena poll. And guess what he is with the Republicans? +28.
Well, then why is he at 16% in the Democrat primary?
First of all, I would re-poll the whole thing now. It's a few months later, but I do think that was a bit of
16% with.
See, maybe that is why they call it the five, and they only name 4 fucking names, because every time she talks and she actually makes sense, Jesse fucking Shitwaters over here always interrupts her, and if it's not him, it's Greg Gutless, and that guy is just, I mean, literally, you had to put tiger stripes on your stupid name because it kind of sounds like Garfield. Wow, man, this is that podcast politician bullshit, and that's why I wanted to know that woman's name, because all they ever do is interrupt her, and she's never inaccurate, or she's always saying something that's perfectly apt, and they just interrupt her with whataboutisms and more bland, unrelatable bullshit. And that's what Fox News does. And what's strange is Fox News used to cover some actually decent stuff and would talk about shit that was actually important. I mean, it still was few and far between even back then. And I'm not talking about, 2004 or anything, By then, even Jon Stewart was still destroying them. I mean, the way that Jon Stewart just came on to different shows and just said, please stop hurting America. It's beautiful. I mean, the way he did it, it was as fucking democratic as you get. And what Chank is saying is absolutely right. Do we have a chance? Yes. But do we have a guarantee? No. And also, what Robert Kennedy said, that the 2000 election was stolen, and they actually made fun of him for it. They're the same network that said it was stolen. So what the fuck are they talking about? Like, they're the same network that was covering the failure of the Bush administration and talking about shit like that. So, and they even made those kind of claims that it was pretty obvious that, Bush's family had fixed the election for them because they put Jeb in the perfect position to be the only state that needed a recount. That is election fraud. That is election interference. That is a rigged fake election. But every election is rigged because that's what the fucking Electoral College is for. Now, My fear is that we don't have enough electoral college members to vote for the right side of history and instead vote for the right side of the politics. And that's just fucking pathetic. So save it for your shitty podcast. All right. Love you guys. Stay free, stay sane, stay safe, and, stay free. And as always, I will see y'all on the other side. Most of all,
These selfies are a form of social commentary and not in any way meant to put down the ideas and ideals of any political or gender identity. You are all fair game in the eyes of the wicked, and we see you.
The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at, see that chap over there? Take your hand off my penis!
The Deputy Secretary, Deputy Secretary, Deputy Secretary.
This guy is fucking stupid!
stay cheesy.